Hey, Husker fans, welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me as always is Danny Gillette, and we are back for another episode of the podcast here. And today, on this Friday, right after Big Ten Media Days, we are going to be doing our game-by-game predictions. We're going to put ourselves on the record for the 2025 season for Nebraska football. So before we get into that, please make sure that you guys hit the like button if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, get into the comment section, let us know what you think Nebraska's record is going to be this season. I know lots of people are drinking the Kool-Aid. I've been drinking the Kool-Aid. The national media has been drinking the Kool-Aid. So let's get on the record. But Danny, before we get into it, how are you doing on this Friday morning?
I have a drinking problem. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid once again, and I don't know if, hopping back on the wagon is a good idea, but here I am. We are very close to the start of the season, less than, 4 weeks away, 5 weeks away? So I am ready to get going, and I can't believe we're doing one of these videos. It just seems like yesterday the Pinstripe Bowl is happening.
Yeah, so it's 5 days from yesterday. So yeah, I think we're 35 days away, if my math is correct, or 34 days away. I don't know. I don't really know how you count all the days into it, but I know we're less than 5 weeks. Yeah, I know we're 5 weeks away from that opener, and yeah, it's hard to believe that we're here. It seems like we just were, at the Pinstripe Bowl, recruiting, the transfer portal, but it's all led up to this. We had Big Ten Media Days this week, so we got a little better feel for what the team is, and I think there's a lot of excitement out of these players. They really, you can feel that they believe they're ready for a breakout season. So yeah, and I guess looking at these game-by-game predictions, we're going to go through each one. You can throw out a score if you want to. If not, not a big deal. Win or loss is the main thing. And the biggest challenge, I think, is to look at each game and not try to, this what I'm going to try to do is not overthink it. And if I think Nebraska is going to win this singular game, I'm just going to predict that and not try to think about what the overall record is. I know that can trigger Nebraska fans, and sometimes we don't want to predict. Even some of these people going 9-3, I've seen kind of trigger fans being like, "Oh, stop with the hype train." But that's what we're doing here, is predicting these games. So if you think we're wrong, go into the comment section, and I'd love to hear your explanation why. We'd love to have that chatter and that debate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trying to build this this community of hardcore Husker fans. So let's get into it, man. First game up, August 28th, ESPN, Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City. Nebraska's about a touchdown favorite at this point. Cincinnati was 5-7 last season. Brendan Sorsby's the quarterback. Scott Satterfield is back as the head coach. This not going to be a cakewalk, I don't think. They're a very hungry team, I would say. The Bearcats, they need to get bowl eligible this season if Scott Satterfield is going to keep his job. And it wasn't that long ago, a few years ago, they were a playoff team. So they're kind of struggled moving into the Big 12, but this is a Power 4 opponent. So, Danny, on the record, game 1, week 1, what's your prediction?
31-17 Nebraska. It's not going to be an easy game. The Cincinnati team is hungry and ready to go. And, I think that this is going to be, a good test for where the Huskers are right off the bat. This is going to be a game where I think Cincinnati hangs around in the first half, but then Nebraska just kind of takes control in the second half and kind of puts the lid on the coffin.
Yeah, I think it's going to be I think Nebraska's going to come out, and I think they'll start strong. I think they'll get the lead, and I think they're going to play with the lead for most of the game. I think it'll be kind of like a wire-to-wire type deal. I do think Cincinnati will hang around, but I think maybe some turnovers, some red zone stops. I'm going to go 28-20 Nebraska. They'll cover the spread. Not not like the best performance you've ever seen, but a solid, like week 1, just like get it out of the way. Kind of like the first game you play in a tournament, just like find a way to get that W and move on. So I think they'll build some confidence moving into week 2, and it's our old friends, Akron, the Akron Zips, who haven't been on the schedule since the Scott Frost days when they had the old the old lightning storm canceled everything. That was kind of a premonition for we should have realized then what was coming in the Scott Frost era. The storm was coming, and the higher powers were trying to tell us something. But this time around, Akron comes to Nebraska, and they can't even make a bowl game because their academic rating is so low. So kind of an interesting side note. Not too much to really say about Akron. If Matt Rhule loses this game, then he's probably going to be on the hot seat right away. So I would expect Nebraska to win this game like 42-10. I wouldn't even expect this to be very competitive at all.
I would say 35-13, and this game is a makeup of the canceled 2018 game. Nebraska leads the all-time series 1-0 with the only win being in 2007 when they won 59-14. So
Yeah, it's so interesting to see, some MAC teams on the schedule. And then next up, Houston Christian, an FCS opponent, which we haven't really seen Nebraska play one of those for a few years. So, that'll be, kind of interesting. And another, I guess they played Northern Iowa last year, so I should correct myself. But yeah, another FCS opponent. I mean, I would think this would be a very similar, kind of game. Just,
Mm-hmm.
lots of chances for lots of guys to play. I mean, these games are important and you want to play well. So I think Nebraska wins here fairly easily. I'm going to say 45-14.
I'll go 45-14 too. Another win for Nebraska here.
So we both got the Huskers 3-0 coming out of the preseason or out of the non-conference schedule. And there's the first real test, I would say, for this 2025 season. The Michigan Wolverines, Bryce Underwood coming in. Now, we don't know if Sharon Moore is going to be suspended for this game or not. That's was kind of like a proposed punishment that's not been leveled yet by the NCAA, but that is the expectation. Now, I'm wondering because Michigan kind of leaked out this thing that's proposing like he'll miss games 3 and 4. I'm wondering if the NCAA, and part of the reason for that, I believe, is that Sharon Moore, who is an Oklahoma alum, wants to be at that Oklahoma-Michigan game because they're like celebrating one of the national championship teams or a team that won a Big 12 championship like 20 years ago when he played for Bob Stoops. But I don't know if the NCAA is going to accept that. And I've always thought that they're going to come back and say you're going to have to set out the first 2 games or maybe the first 3. Like if the NCAA comes back and says I want it to be 3 games, like maybe Michigan will accept that. So there's still a chance that Sharon Moore could be suspended, but coaching the Nebraska game. So just because there is that report out there, it's not like a done deal that he's going to be missing this game. So hopefully, I'm thinking the NCAA will probably come down with a decision in the next couple of weeks, and we'll get a little more clarity on that. But either way, I think Nebraska's going to win this game just because, I feel like it's going to be like the Colorado game last year. The stadium's going to be off the charts. I wish it was a night game. It's a 3:30 game, which, this would have been a perfect time to have a night game. But I would say this is, if Michigan beats Oklahoma and Nebraska takes care of its business, both of these teams are probably going to be ranked. And I think Nebraska is finally going to end that winning streak or that losing streak against ranked teams. I think it's going to be tough, but if Sharon Moore's not there, I think Nebraska will find a way to win. I think it's going to be like 27-20, something like that, a one-score game. But Nebraska gets a defining win against Michigan to open Big Ten play.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is going to be a close one. Probably like 21-17 Nebraska, I think. But I could also see a flipping. I think Matt Rhule, like you said, gets his defining win as head coach of the Huskers. And not that the Pinstripe Bowl wasn't defining, but this would be a big one. And I think if Nebraska has the opportunity to beat Michigan, this is the year to do it.
Yeah, and I think Bryce Underwood is obviously a big X factor. We just don't know what he's going to be yet. It's kind of like Dylan Raiola last year. Is he going to come in and play like a first round pick caliber like right away, or is he going to have some freshman struggles? I tend to believe that he's going to have some freshman struggles, meaning Bryce Underwood. I still think he's going to be dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about him running in this game. That's early in the season, like that's an X factor. I think that isn't being talked about enough with him, but I think the defense will find a way. I think John Butler will mix him up a few times. They'll maybe get a key turnover late, and they will end this losing streak against Michigan, which is they haven't beat Michigan, I think, since like 2012. I want to say it's been a long time.
Yep. And this to me is going to be interesting because Tony White, the previous defensive coordinator, was not good at stopping running quarterbacks. So I'm going to be very curious to see what John Butler kind of does to mitigate that.
And speaking of the next week, Michigan State then will be coming to Lincoln. And speaking of another quarterback that can run, Aiden Chili's from Michigan State, was pretty dynamic for the Spartans last season. He did throw a lot of interceptions, but threw a lot of touchdowns. I think it's going to be he's another guy that, like Raiola, is expected to kind of take a big leap. He definitely has, I think, all Big Ten quarterback potential. I mean, if he could reach that ceiling. But this Michigan State team is still pretty, I would say, average in terms of talent. I think Jonathan Smith is a good defensive coach. I don't think this will be an easy win, but I think Nebraska will win by 2 or 3 scores. I think they'll run away with it at the end and win like 31-14, 31-17. I just don't see Michigan State being able to do enough offensively to hang with Nebraska in this one.
I was going to say 34-13. I think Michigan State will be tough. you know, they've always been a tough football team, but I think Nebraska will be able to handle business.
Okay, so that puts us each at 5-0 going into the first. So we had our neutral site game. So now we got the first road games of the season. Nebraska is interesting. They've got 4 road games and they're all back to back. So you got this stretch, Maryland, Minnesota, and then you've got UCLA and Penn State. So really 4 of the last 6 games, or I guess 4 of the last 7 on the road. So, you know, you got the first 5, only 1, you know, away from Lincoln Memorial Stadium. Then it gets a little more difficult. So at Maryland, remember the last time the Terps played Nebraska, they you know, robbed us of our bowl game after we had the late Chubba Purdy interception, and
Don't remind me.
Tua Tagovailoa drove them down for the win. But that was an ugly game that Maryland won at Nebraska. So this time in Maryland, they're going to have the freshman quarterback. Let's say it's Malik Washington, I believe. Yep. And so it's kind of interesting because he's like a top 50 guy. They've got some other quarterbacks there, but I think they're going to roll with him. And I think if you're Mike Locksley, you know, they didn't make a bowl game last year. I think your hope is just that, you know, win enough games to get to a bowl and have this kid look like he's going to be promising for the future. And that can probably, you know, get you another year or 2 at the job. So I think Maryland's going to be a competitive game, but I just don't see them having enough talent to, you know, beat Nebraska halfway through the season with a freshman quarterback. Maybe if this was late November, I'd be a little more worried about it. But, you know, in mid-October, I think Nebraska's going to find a way to get it done.
Yeah, I think Nebraska's going to win here too. I think Malik Washington is going to be good, but like you said, freshman season, I like Mike Locksley as a coach, and I do think this Maryland program is on the rise, but I think Nebraska takes care of business here.
All right, and now our old friend, so 6-0. We both got Nebraska 6-0. I guess you can say we're both kind of drinking the Kool-Aid here. But you know, Minnesota's always been a tough team. PJ Fleck was talking about how Nebraska is one of the most dangerous programs in the Big Ten. They've got they've always got kind of talented guys, and they always get better as the season goes along. So, Danny, what do you think about Minnesota? The second thing, this is a Friday night game, so they play at Maryland on Saturday. 5 games after they play at Minnesota. So, can they win? You know, back-to-back road games and get to 7-0?
No, I don't love like this whole short rest, back-to-back road games. The fact that PJ Fleck has historically had Nebraska's number. I don't love this game for the Huskers. I have this as their first loss of the season. Yeah, I don't really have a score prediction for this one. I think it's going to be close, but PJ Fleck is a very good coach in terms of, you know, the fundamentals and making sure that his team's ready to play, and they're going to be ready to play here.
And Minnesota, again, this is another interesting team. Another young quarterback, as Drake Lindsey, you know, expected to be kind of the starter for Minnesota this year. Though they will get back Darius Taylor, who, you know, missed some time last year with injury, and had some. So that will really help them in terms of Lindsey only threw 5 passes last year. So, you know. And 4 of those were against Rhode Island. So he's only 5 career passes coming into the season, you know. So again, I definitely can see where you're coming from, and I do worry about this game, but I feel like this Nebraska team is just gonna, you know, be a little more mature. And I think after that Michigan win, like I think this is going to be a troublesome game. I think they're going to get down, but I think they're going to find a way to win like 23-20. And we're gonna look back at this game as just like a game that in previous years Nebraska would have lost, but this year they find a way to win. So believe it or not, I got the Huskers winning again, 7-0.
I wish we faced them at the beginning of the season. I just worry about Lindsey kind of finding his groove towards that October-November stretch, like you were talking about with some of these younger quarterbacks, you know, finding their groove. So I do wonder about that. And Minnesota's just tough. Like I don't care if they're you know 0-4 or 4-0. They just have always given Nebraska trouble.
Well, they play good defense, and like we said, they get better as the season goes on, and that's I think you know, a credit to good coaching. PJ Fleck probably annoys you, he annoys me, but he's a good football coach, and it's not going to be easy.
I definitely respect him as a coach for sure.
Yeah, and Darius Taylor is a dude, so you know if he's right, he's a guy that could play well. He could go for like 150 yards and beat you, you know, like so. That's my worry there, but I'm gonna say Nebraska wins. So Danny's got Nebraska at 6-1. I've got Nebraska 7-0. Next up is Northwestern. What do you think about the Wildcats?
I think the Wildcats are also a tough team, but I think Nebraska can take care of business here. Nebraska, I believe, won in their last game against Northwestern back in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. But I think that they'll be able to take care of business, bouncing back after this Minnesota hypothetical loss, and they'll be able to get the job done.
I'm thinking back. I may be maybe wrong. Excuse me. Speaking of Minnesota and Northwestern, but I believe that Minnesota game you're thinking of is the game that Malachi Coleman had the touchdown reception in the fourth quarter,
Correct.
kind of put it on ice. So we'll see if he, looking back to that Minnesota game, see if he makes an impact. In terms of Northwestern, I mean, they really invested a lot in the transfer portal with David Braun entering his third season. They got, I think, like 14 transfers. They added a quarterback from SMU, Preston Stone. But I just don't, they're going to be tough. They'll be a try hard kind of team, but I just don't see them having the talent to compete with Nebraska in this game. So I think the Huskers probably win by about 14.
Yeah, no, I see this as a victory for Nebraska. And this will be an important game, especially before the tougher half of the schedule begins.
So we're through 8 games. I got the Huskers at 8-0, which is pretty crazy. Danny's got them at 7-1. So the last 4 games, the most difficult stretch of the schedule, I would say home against USC, at UCLA, at Penn State, home against Iowa. I mean, those could all be, I would say maybe not UCLA. I do think they're going to be better than people expect, but all teams that should be playing for the postseason in terms of bowl games, multiple teams in there could be competing for playoff spots. Penn State is the Big Ten preseason favorite, which I'm not sure about that prediction, but USC, they've made a lot of headlines with their recruiting, but they added some guys in the transfer portal. I'm sure they're going to be an improved team. Mave's back at quarterback, but what's your prediction? Do you really think they're going to be that much better? And do you think they'll beat Nebraska again? They beat them last year in the Coliseum.
I do think they'll beat Nebraska again, and I think it's going to start with Maivea. I think this defense will be a lot better than it was last year, but I really like what Maivea brings to the table. And so I feel like he's going to give the Nebraska secondary fits, and that will work to Nebraska's disadvantage. I see them losing here. I see like a 24-17 USC type of game, but I do see Nebraska struggling here.
I do. Yeah, I definitely can see, this being a tough game for Nebraska, but I don't know. I just feel like, when you get this team, they're going to be 8-0, and USC I think the record will be better. I haven't looked at their record or whatever, but they're probably going to be coming in. I would think with 5-6 wins. This could be a ranked matchup. I think Lincoln Memorial Stadium is going to be absolutely frothing at the mouth. Mm-hmm. I mean, if this team's 8-0 and USC's, I'd like this. That place is going to be so crazy. Like, I think we're going to I think people who haven't really known like what the home field advantage is at Lincoln Memorial Stadium, like when you actually have a good team, like I think they're going to finally start to see that this season. And I just don't think USC is going to be good enough to travel across the country and beat Nebraska in Lincoln. So as crazy it sounds, I'm going to pick Nebraska to win this game. I do think it's going to be a bit of a shootout, like 27-24. 30-27, but I think this is like the game where Dylan Raiola, not like a legacy game, but I think this is the moment when people are like, okay, this dude's going to be like first round pick kind of special. So Dylan Raiola does enough to get Nebraska past USC.
I could definitely see that too. I just think it's going to be a challenge for the defense, but we've seen Tony White's defense. We haven't seen John Butler's defense, so they could be rolling by the time this game comes along. I think it's going to be a good game either way. I think it's going to be really fun atmosphere, like you mentioned, and I'm excited for this one, no matter the result.
But yeah, John Butler, if Nebraska's going to win, he's got to have a good day in his secondary. Has to have a good day, but I think they will. I think they're better positioned to match up with a team like USC this year. So going now across the country to the Rose Bowl, playing the UCLA Bruins, getting Nico Amaiavela this offseason. They came into Lincoln last year, and we all thought we were going to be celebrating bowl eligibility, and was it Ethan Garbers? I can't even remember. I think it was Ethan Garbers.
It was Ethan Garbers, yep.
Yeah, ran all over us and made all these plays, and that was probably that one. I mean, the Iowa and Illinois losses stick in my craw from last year, but that UCLA one really does too.
I feel like the UCLA one put a nail in the coffin for Tony White's time at Nebraska.
Yeah, I agree with that. Which is kind of funny because he's a UCLA guy. But yeah, so Nico, I like what Deshaun Foster's doing out at UCLA. What's your prediction here in the Rose Bowl?
Nebraska wins, but it's going to be close. I'm not going to give a score because I don't know. But it's not going to be an easy game at all. And I think Nebraska's really going to have to get pressure. I think the defensive line is going to be crucial in this game, and getting pressure on Nico is going to be extremely important. Getting pressure was not something that they did well last year. So, again, this is a case of I'm curious to see how John Butler schemes things up.
So I know it's hard to believe. I got Nebraska at 9-0, and you probably think like I'm an insane Kool-Aid drinker and blah blah blah. But I am going to pick them to lose this game. And for one, I think that Nico's going to play really well. Out in UCLA, not having quite as much pressure, not being in the SEC, not expected to lead Tennessee to a national championship, like all that stuff. I think, like I said, I was really impressed with how Deshaun Foster coached at the end of last season. I think by November. This team's going to be fighting for a bowl berth. Maybe they'll get it in this Nebraska game. This will be kind of like their big win. But I just think, after these road games and after what I think is just going to be like a battle against USC and, late game, they're going to be emotionally exhausted and having to travel across the country. I think they run out of gas and drop their first game of the season at UCLA.
So what do you have? You have them at
So I got them at 9. So we're both at 9-1 right now going into Penn State.
Actually, I think I picked USC to be a loss as well.
Oh,
so
you're right. You're right. So I'm at 9.
Or,
You're right. So I'm at 9-1. You're at 8-2. So we're going into so we got 2 games left. So either way, both of us would have Nebraska in playoff contention at this point. So at Penn State, your boy Drew Aller, I know your favorite quarterback, my favorite head coach, James Franklin, the guy you always trust to win the big games. They do have an amazing backfield though. Nicholas Singleton, the Allen kid. They've got, Danny Dennis Sutton on defense. Like they've got some dudes on defense for this Penn State team. So I don't know. Everybody's picking them to win. They stole away Ohio State's offense or defensive coordinator Jim Knowles like 2 days after the championship, which was kind of crazy. So what do you think? Can Nebraska pull an upset here? Or will Penn State hold serve in Happy Valley?
Penn State will hold serve, and I honestly think Jim Knowles is going to have a field day against Donovan Raiola. I feel like he's going to. I feel like this is going to maybe. Let's just hope that Dylan Raiola can stay upright. So I think Nebraska is going to lose this one here, unfortunately, because I do hate Drew Aller, but I love the backfield, like you mentioned. Just Nicholas Singleton is outstanding, and Penn State has a tradition of producing good running backs, and the ones they have in the backfield right now certainly add to that.
I think, this is going to be a tough game for Nebraska to win. I got them at 9-1, fresh off a loss, so I think they're going to have, a sense of urgency. I think they will play well. I think they might even grab the lead in the first half, but I think Penn State will find a way to come back and win it in the second, maybe even win like 27-17. But I do think it's going to be the kind of loss that shows people that even though Nebraska didn't win this game, they can play with the big boys. So I don't think in terms of their playoff resume, it's going to hurt them. Like I think if they went in and lost like 34-10 and just got like drubbed, I think that would hurt their playoff chances.
The 2019 Ohio State game.
yeah. Like this, they need to have a chance to win this one. I think they will. I think they'll come up just short. So, okay. So that has us at, so I have Nebraska at 9-2 going into Iowa. You've got Nebraska at 8-3. They've lost 2 in a row now to the Hawkeyes, both on last second field goal. It seems like every year when we lose to these SOBs, it's on a last second field goal.
Yeah, they lost to the last second field goal, 2019 too?
Yeah, well, 2019, I mean, gosh, 2019, there's been a million of them. I want to say 2019, maybe 2020. But anyways, 2 years ago, we get the interception and we're in field goal range or close to field goal range, and then Chuba throws the pick. Iowa gets the field goal, and then last year, Nair drops first we missed the kick to put us up by 10. Then Nair drops the pass that would have easily either been a touchdown or got us in field goal range, and then we have the fumble by Raiola, and then Iowa hits the game winner after we pretty much dominated. The last 2 years we've pretty much dominated.
We did.
So,
and it made me upset. I was going to say something else, but we're on live here. It made me upset.
Yeah, it was really annoying. I do think they're going to get some revenge. Matt Rhule finally gets a rivalry win, and I think that they do it by double digits. I think they do it convincingly. Like I'm going to say 30-13.
I'm going to say 27-10, because if this defense plays the way that I think it can, they'll be rolling by the time the end of the season comes around, and hopefully can get pressure on the quarterback. So I think this game is gonna. I just feel like Nebraska, tends to struggle in these big moments against Iowa. Like they feel the pressure, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen here.
So we've got so here are records. We've got Chris, I've got the Huskers going 10-2. Danny, you've got Nebraska going 9-3. So yeah, I'll have them right on the cusp of being a playoff team. I think 10-2. I think they probably would make it if they go 10-2. I feel like they'd have a really good chance to make it. So we'll see. I know that there's a few toss-up games. I could definitely see them going 8-4. If like the Michigan or USC games, go the other way. But I don't see this team going any worse than 8-4. I think 8 wins is the floor for me, and I think 10 or 11 is the ceiling. I think I think 11 wins is possible. It's I know that sounds crazy, but they can win every game on the schedule, probably outside of Penn State.
And if it's anything less than 8-4, then discussions may need to be had.
Then there's going to be some pressure on Matt Rhule going into next season. So there's some pressure this year. It's been alleviated a lot by by getting to the bowl game and winning the bowl game, but people are expecting that third-year jump, and if Nebraska doesn't take it, then yeah, Matt Rhule's going to see some pressure going into 2026.
It's a pivotal season for many. Riola, Rhule, even a guy like John Butler to really show that he can take over the defensive coordinator role and succeed. So a lot of interesting subplots heading into this season. And I haven't been this excited for a season since 2021, and we all know how that ended. So let's hope that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and even Holgerson, if he has a couple of great years with Raiola, man, he could be a head coach again, right? Like don't tell me somebody in the Big 12 wouldn't hire that dude to be their head coach. If he turns Raiola into a first round pick or something, which he can, and Raiola could very easily be that. So that's our record, that's our prediction, that's what we're going to stand by. So that's where we are, folks. Let us know what you think of our predictions, what your predictions are, and I guess let us know if you think we're drinking too hard on the Kool-Aid. Maybe we do have a drinking problem, but I'm like the guy where he just busts down the wall with that's me right now with the Rhule-Aid, just like guzzling it right now. So that's where we're at, and hopefully we're right. I don't think our predictions have been that right in the past, so take it with a grain of salt. But so probably predictions sure to go wrong, but that's how you have it, folks. So if you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.